All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. We are live, and in a moment, we're going to go back and watch the beginning of a video I posted on August 24th, which was the day Len Dawson died. And I pointed out that day the significance of him dying on Kobe Bryant Day, the 24th day of the month, 24 days before Patrick Mahomes' birthday, when Patrick Mahomes won his first Super Bowl at age 24, 1 week after Kobe Bryant died. Again, Kobe Bryant died January 26th. Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl the next Sunday, February 2nd. And as you'll recall, Kobe died at age 41 on the 26th. Patrick Mahomes put that Super Bowl away with his 41st pass, which was his 26th completion to number 26. And of course, Kobe's from Philly. Last night I looked at this and I couldn't sleep because I was just kicking myself. We saw right away when Len Dawson died how it was perfectly synced with the Super Bowl, because he died 172 days before Super Bowl 57. Kansas City Chiefs equals 172. It's why in our community we had a future in for the Bills, where the top shooting was synced with the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs before the season began. But the reason I'm mad is because it was just screaming out that it was going to be Eagles and Chiefs with the death of Len Dawson on Kobe Bryant Day, when Kobe's from Philly. Because notice he died at age 87. Remember, he entered the Hall of Fame at age 87, but he also died 65 days after his birthday, or his 66th day of his age, like how he was in the first Super Bowl in the 66 NFL season. Again, 65 days after the birthday, which is how this site reports it. You could also say the 66th day of his age. But Philadelphia in Gematria equals 65. I call it the 65 city, and Philadelphia Eagles in Gematria equals 87. And again, that's in the cipher that matters the most for sports and news. Philadelphia Eagles 87, Philadelphia 65. Remember how they brought the boy in the box story back from Philadelphia? That story was from 57. 65 years later, they bring that back. Again, Philadelphia, the city established on the day, leaving 65 days left in the year. And notice also Len Dawson was drafted in 57. When Franco Harris died 103 days after the season began, this is the 103rd NFL season, we were talking again about how Len Dawson played for the Chiefs and the Steelers. At one point in time, the Steelers and Eagles merged during the World War. They became the Steagles. And again, 103rd NFL season, Franco Harris died 103 days after it began, the week before they retired his jersey against the Raiders, where he once had the Immaculate Reception against. And again, this year the season began on the Virgin Mary's birthday, the Immaculate Conception. But anyhow, the Super Bowl was set with this ritual, no doubt about it. Again, it was perfectly synced with the Chiefs. Len Dawson was the Chiefs quarterback who took them to Super Bowl 1 and 4. And again, Kobe from Philly, and dead in perfect tribute to the Philadelphia and Philadelphia Eagles numbers. And consider Jalen Hurts is now 24 years old. ESPN put up this morning that Hurts and Mahomes, not only will they be the first two black quarterbacks, they'll be playing on Lincoln's birthday, who freed the slaves, but ESPN showed that Mahomes and Hurts will be the youngest starting quarterback duo ever in a Super Bowl at 51 years and days. Again, the Super Bowl has ref number 51. Rihanna's the halftime performer, born on the 51st day of the year, and the Super Bowl is exactly 51 weeks after her birthday. That number is typically connected to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's the 51 team who went out in the AFC Championship. But both the Kelce brothers, who will face each other, one plays for the Eagles, the other for the Chiefs, they both went to the University of Cincinnati. Again, this is the Eagles' 90th season. The Super Bowl is 90 days before the Society of the Cincinnati's birthday. Their symbol's the eagle. And their birthday is May 13th, which is also the day that Rihanna's child was born. Remember, Rambo predicted before Rihanna was the halftime performer that she would be the halftime performer because of her pregnancy, because the word birth is 57. And anyhow, I know people mostly only care about the work if they can win money. But again, money is the thing they use to control humanity. What we really need to do is break the control, which is money, sports, entertainment, And I just want to go back and play what I said August 24th. It's funny, when I came to this video this morning, I reshared it. It was on 172 likes. And again, it's about how Len Dawson died 172 days before the Super Bowl. I reshared it this morning, and here, I even took the screenshot when I first looked at it. I was like, see how stupid Google stats are? It's just a reminder that everything is numbers. They just had to freeze this video about Len Dawson dying 172 days before the Super Bowl on 172 likes from 5 months ago. Again, I was just looking at some channel that has like 500,000 subscribers. He's literally reading the news story, and the video has 10,000 likes. I'm like, why do people even, like, can they not read the news story themselves? 10,000 likes for a guy just reading a news story to an audience in a 3-minute video. Here I am showing year after year mind-blowing knowledge. And I know Google stats are all rigged, but it's just like, okay. 10,000 likes for reading a news story, 172 likes for showing how Len Dawson's death is perfectly synced with the Super Bowl where Kansas City Chiefs equals 172. But anyway, let's go back and watch exactly what I said about ritual sacrifice and rigged sports and why people need to wake up again. And I'll also get rid of myself so you don't have to look at two of me at the same time. But here we go. August 24th, posted 5 months ago, 2022, right before I took off for New York. Here we go.
Welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. And the breaking news this morning in the world of sports, Len Dawson, the great quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, dead at age 87. And if you watch the news coverage this morning, they'll put it right in front of your face. They'll say Len Dawson became an NFL Hall of Famer in 87, and now he's dead at 87. And they won't even blink an eye, just like how they didn't with Bill Russell, as they told you that Bill Russell became a Hall of Famer in 1975. Well, what had just concluded? The 75th NBA season. And of course, in Gematria, Bill Russell equals 75. And of course, the Warriors became 7-5 in finals against his Celtics. But then again, they represent San Francisco, where he went to the Jesuit school. And again, he died on the last day of the Ignatian year, the 31st of July, 31, the 11th prime, the man with 11 championships, dead by the numbers. Now, the same is true for Len Dawson, and we see the same thing year after year. As the seasons come around, as the playoffs come around, the bodies start to fall. And again, it's always a perfect ritual. Now, if you've been following me since the time of Kobe's death, I know that's when a lot of you came on. Again, we've been doing this for 9 years and showing the same thing for all 9 years. But you recall at the time of Kobe's death, I showed how Kobe had the big 54 connection, and he died the Sunday before Super Bowl 54. Well, look at what day Len Dawson's now dead. He's now dead on Kobe Bryant Day, August 24th, of course, because Kobe wore 8 and 24. And I just talked about it again yesterday. Again, congrats to the winners. Told you guys the Dodgers would pick up their 44th home win on the day of what would have been Kobe Bryant's 44th birthday. And of course, the Dodgers went into the 4th inning with 4 runs yesterday against the 44 team, the Milwaukee Brewers. But like I said yesterday, remember, Kobe died at age 41 on the 26th day of the year. And in Gematria, Kobe Bryant equals 41, like Super Bowl, and Bryant equals 26, like game. And if you go back to Super Bowl 54, which the Chiefs won right after, you'll see that Mahomes put away the game with his 41st pass and his 26th completion, something that we called out in real time watching the game before it happened. We said, oh, here comes the put away touchdown. And sure enough, the 26th completion on the 41st pass to number 26 to win the game. Patrick Mahomes, prior to that, do you recall what happened? Patrick Mahomes, who's the quarterback of the Chiefs, like Len Dawson was the quarterback of the Chiefs. Remember when Patrick Mahomes beat Len Dawson's passing record? He's married now, Patrick Mahomes, but back then it was his fiancée. His fiancée was at the game with her dad. And right as Patrick Mahomes beat Len Dawson's record, what happened? Patrick Mahomes' fiancée, her father, dropped dead in the stands at the game. And again, no one's blinking an eye at any of this stuff, but it's such obvious ritual. Rigged sports, ritual murder, in some cases fake deaths. which I'm pretty sure is the case for Kobe. Pretty sure he watched the Dodgers pick up their 44th home win yesterday on his 44th birthday. But here's what jumps out. Again, Len Dawson became a Hall of Famer in 87. He's dead at 87. He's dead on his 66th day of being 87 years old, born June 20th, 1935. Why does it matter that he's dead on his 66th day of being 87? About a year ago, I was pointing out the significance of the coronavirus vaccine getting full approval by the FDA 87 days from Bill Gates' 66th birthday. And I've talked about this number combination many a times, but 87 and 66 are numbers that have a direct relationship in gematria. They both represent the phrase number of the beast. Number of the beast, 6687. Kind of like how vaccination has that Sumerian gematria of 666, which is the number of the beast. Kind of like how Bill Gates' name equals number of the beast, and he got his vaccine on his 87th day of his age. But 6687, if you're new here, how do those numbers relate to number of the beast? If you're new here, gematria is based on the alphabetic order forwards and backwards. If I read out number of the beast, it equals 66 forwards, 87 in reverse. Len Dawson, dead on his 66th day of being 87. 66 is big with the NFL as well. The first Super Bowl season was the 66th season, which concluded at the very beginning of 67, and that was the Chiefs losing to the Packers. And again, if you are new here, that first Super Bowl season was the 47th NFL season. In the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order with no numerology, the word beast is 47. So think about that. The first Super Bowl in the 47th NFL season in 66. And by the way, the thing I just told you about Bill Gates, remember he operates on the 47th parallel north in Seattle. He started Microsoft in the 47th state, New Mexico. He opened up the Microsoft campus in the suburb of Seattle, Redmond on the 47th day of the year. Again, the beast, number of the beast thing is a huge ongoing ritual. And, you know, just because I love to talk about Bill Gates, don't forget when he got divorced from his sweetie Melinda, who he met in 1987, the same year Len Dawson became a Hall of Famer. When they got divorced, it was 66 days from his 66th birthday. Isn't that nice? So, anyhow, Len Dawson, Hall of Famer in 87, dead at 87, right after Bill Russell, who was the biggest name in sports, who recently died. Again, Hall of Famer in 75, dead right after the 75th NBA season when the name Bill Russell equals 75. And again, the Warriors picked up their 75th all-time road win in the playoffs in Boston to win the finals, getting to 7-5 in championships, kind of like how the 49ers also won the 75th NFL season. Because remember, all of these sports leagues are rigged and scripted, and from all of their inceptions, they've been controlled by the same Jesuits who rig everything by this code every single day. All of your news, all of your sports, rigged together, scripted, and, here's just the latest example. Now remember, every time they do one of these rituals, it's synced up with the season. So Len Dawson's dead on Kobe Bryant Day, when Kobe Bryant had everything to do with the Chiefs' last Super Bowl win. And notice that from today, his death, to the upcoming date of Super Bowl 57, keep in mind Len Dawson was drafted into the NFL in 57, but Super Bowl 57 will be exactly 172 days later. And in the most simple cipher, Kansas City Chiefs equals 172. And Merum Dei Gloriam, the Jesuit motto in the most simple cipher, is also 172. One of the biggest sports stars in the whole world has that same birthday, 17/2. And if you guys are paying attention, I've given you guys a lot of free picks this year, and almost every single one's been correct. Back when Jordan's birthday was rolling around, Mr. 17/2, I showed you how the Bulls were going to win 4 straight home games and be 23-8 at home by Jordan's birthday, which is exactly what they did, because Michael Jordan equals 238. Kobe born on 23/8, another special number. So I got your Kylie Rodini news yesterday. It's the same ritual they did last year on the date. Last year on 23/8, I was talking about the numbers 238 and 86. Now you got Kylie Rodini dead, confirmed 23/8 after her disappearance on 8/6. It's because those numbers have to do with the eye of providence, that thing on the all-seeing eye, on the dollar bill, the all-seeing eye. Anyway, you learn the number combinations, you see through the rituals every single day. Again, I give you guys these teachings for free. I give you winners for free day after day. Again, congrats to everyone who won on the Dodgers yesterday. And if you took my advice on those scores, because I thought they were going to be higher scores, you hit on the overs as well. And but again, you guys, I mean, what I've taught you guys for 9 years is undeniable. It's the same thing every single day. The people who deny this are really dumb fucking people. Like, I mean, brain dead, fucking retarded. Like, we'd be better off as a people if they weren't even breathing, which is also true. Part of the reason we're so fucked is because there's so many brain dead lemmings walking around who watch things like this, like, oh, you're reaching. It's just, again, unless you're a fucking retard, you don't have any debate about anything I've shown in the last 9 years. Calling futures better than anyone's ever done in the world, showing you how the news and sports is rigged every day, showing you who's doing it, and showing you how fucking sick it is. And look at the lemmings still file into the stadiums to watch these rigged fucking games and celebrate these sick fucking leagues that are murdering people left and right by their beast code. Essentially, if you continue to go to sports games and pay for this shit, you might as well just stamp the 666 right on your forehead. 666 right on your head. And let me see. Let me make sure there's not anything else to say about this. Oh, well, you know what? When Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, he was age 24. That was right after the death of Kobe, number 24. Guess what? Len Dawson's dead 24 days before Mahomes' upcoming birthday on the 24th of the month. Kobe Bryant Day. You know what I mean? Okay. Today does also have...
All right, so you can go back and watch the rest of that video if you want. I get into other news stories. But in light of this being the first all-black quarterback Super Bowl, guess what happened in '87, the year Len Dawson became a Hall of Famer before his death at age 87? It was the year the first black quarterback won the Super Bowl, scoring 42 points. And here, let me pull that up real quick. The 1987 NFL season. It was the 68th regular season, but that year the Redskins beat the Denver Broncos, and they won 42-10. And there were even 4 touchdowns in the second quarter of that game. So they did a double 42. And remember, all 3 Super Bowls that a black quarterback has won, there's been 2 things that have had to happen. There had to be a 42 ritual. The Redskins scored 42 points. The Seahawks, with Russell Wilson, represented the 42nd state, Washington. And the third quarterback, Mahomes, he had 42 pass attempts. Now, the other thing about those 3 teams is they're the only 3 teams in the NFL with Native American symbolism. Redskins, obviously. Chiefs, obviously. Seahawks, maybe not as obvious to people, but Seattle, again, is named after Chief Seattle, the Native American. And the Seahawks logo is from the local Native American tribe in Seattle. So, are they trying to tell us something about real black history? You know? Are they trying to tell us something about real black history? Maybe the black people were already here. Maybe they were living with the other people that we refer to as Native American. Maybe they'd come over on ships from long ago when they had very advanced cultures in Africa, like Egypt. It does seem that they're trying to tell us that. And again, when Obama became president, the nation's first black president, in the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks, who are also a Native American team named the Blackhawks, they couldn't stop winning the Stanley Cup. But anyhow, this year's Super Bowl is in Arizona, the last state to recognize Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and Arizona does have that gematria of 42. Let me put it up here. Arizona has the gematria of 42. Again, if you're new here, gematria is the alphabetic order forwards and backwards with numerology. Where Arizona's 42, so is Martin. Again, the last state to recognize MLK Day. Slavery's 42. You know, Tuskegee's 42. The list goes on. A lot of 42 words. Cosby Show, you know, Huxtable's 42. So is Cosby Show. The list goes on. But, again, every Super Bowl with black quarterbacks has been about 42. The tradition will carry by this being the first with 2 black quarterbacks. And again, Mahomes has already had his 42 ritual. If the Eagles won the Super Bowl, what it would do is break the tradition of the Native American symbolism. The Eagles have had a black quarterback in the Super Bowl before. That was Super Bowl 39 with Donovan McNabb, who lost Tom Brady. And notice how Arizona is also 39. Again, MLK and Malcolm X were both killed at age 39. We're going to cover a lot of things here, but I do want to go back to the day Len Dawson died and just show you how sick this stuff is. Again, I told you how he died 172 days before the Super Bowl. We just went over that. You see how Kansas City Chiefs is also 64? Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid turned 64 years old March 19th of last year. March 19th of last year, he turned 64. Big number with the Chiefs. Chiefs are 5-4 versus the Eagles all time right now. Just a heads up. But notice, from March 19th, 2022 to the day that Len Dawson died, August 24th, 2022. And remember, Mahomes beat Len Dawson's passing record in a huge 64 ritual. But notice how from Andy Reid's birthday to Len Dawson's death was 158 days later. You could also say a span of 159 days. And why that's interesting is this. Andy Reid's a Mormon, and Mormons know that their religion comes from Freemasonry. Freemasonry has the gematria of 158. Yesterday, when the Super Bowl was set between the Eagles and the Chiefs, from Len Dawson's death to the conference championship. All right, I typed in the wrong day, my bad. August 24th, from Len Dawson's death to the conference championship was 158 days later. Just like it was 158 days after Andy Reid's birthday that he died. For both dates, you can say it was 158 days later or a span of 159 days. And notice how Scottish Rite has the gematria of 159 and 57. The Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, again, American football is credited to the Scottish Rite Freemason Walter Camp. And notice how Walter Camp is also 158 and 59 like Freemasonry. And 112 like Chiefs and Super Bowl. And yesterday would have been Andy Reid's 317th day of his age. It's interesting that the score of the first game between the Eagles and the Niners was 31-7, a total of 38 points. And again, like we talked about, the Eagles, the Super Bowls they've now been to, 15, 39, 52, 57, add up to 163. Both the Chiefs and the Eagles became 16-3 for the season by winning yesterday. Lincoln was elected 163 years ago in 1860. The Super Bowl's on Lincoln's birthday, who freed the slaves. And again, the Eagles play in Lincoln Financial Field. Notice how Lincoln Financial Field is 103. The player who made the boneheaded play yesterday against Mahomes, smashing him out of bounds to give him 15 more extra yards to set up the field goal that they probably wouldn't have been able to get without. He's born on April 13th, the 103rd day of the year. Mahomes yesterday became 10-3 in the playoffs for his career in the 103rd season as the Eagles won in Lincoln Financial Field. And now the Super Bowl's in State Farm Arena, where State Farm's also 103. We've been talking about that for a long time. Seen a lot of rituals with 103 and Mahomes and Rodgers before this one. You know, Rodgers, who also does the State Farm commercials, 103. Don't forget when Bart Starr died, who won the first Super Bowl over Len Dawson. He died 103 days from the Packers opening the season versus the Bears, and the score of that game was 10-3. So, again, this 103 thing, it goes beyond just this season, but this is the 103rd NFL season. And again, for the record, Scottish has that gematria 103, as in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. You see how Scottish is also 113? So is Eagles. Eagles is 113. And check this out. Look at what the NFL put out on January 13th. On January 13th, the NFL put out something called the NFL mini movie, and the cover poster is Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. So on January 13th, the NFL did put out what the Super Bowl was. NFL mini movie. Here it is right here. Look at the cover. Jalen Hurts' face with the rest of the NFC behind him versus Mahomes' face with the rest of the AFC behind him. And this was published by the NFL on January 13th. Okay. 1-1-3, right? 1-1-3, Mahomes, Hurts. And again, it's the year of Super Bowl 57. Scottish Rite is 57. Notice how Georgetown is also 57. Georgetown's the first Jesuit university in the nation, established the same year that George Washington, who's of the Society of the Cincinnati, the same year that he turned 57 and became president. And the Jesuits, the Jesuits created modern Freemasonry. The 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite shares the motto Ad Merum de Gloriam with the Jesuits and the Scottish Rite both share the same motto. And for the record, it's at the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite that they share the motto, like there's 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo. Notice how Scottish is 32, America's 32, Christ is 32, the Son of God, where the Jesuit logo is the sun with 32 sun rays on it. Like when the Dodgers broke the 32-year drought in the World Series, they beat the Rays. But the reason I'm making this point about 57 also is, what do they play for in the Super Bowl? They play for the Vince Lombardi Trophy, who was a Jesuit who died at Georgetown at age 57. And Vince Lombardi was with the Packers, who won the first Super Bowl over the Chiefs. There's been a big theme with green this year in sports. The Celtics went down wearing green. So, again, here's what you got to think about. The Eagles are favored to win the Super Bowl right now. If Mahomes wins the Super Bowl, he'll be 11-3 in the playoffs. 11-3 like Scottish, like Eagles. Again, he'd go from 10-3 to 11-3. And also, if the Chiefs beat the Eagles, they will be 6-4 versus the Eagles all time. 6-4, while Andy Reid's 64 years old. Andy Reid would get his 269th career win, which is the 57th prime number, and Missouri's 57. So that is the Chiefs' narrative to upset the Eagles since they're underdogs. I have to do more research on it, though. I'm just going to lay out what I'm looking at right now. The problem is the number that's been the most consistent throughout this whole playoffs is 55. 55 was perfect in the wild card round. You could argue it was perfect in the divisional round. The reason you have to argue is because there was two ways that 5-5 could play in one of the games, and it did play in that game, but it could have also played another way. It had the Jaguars upset the Chiefs, which seemed unlikely. They would have become 5-5 away. But by covering the spread, which they did, they became 5-5 away ATS, and we figured that's what would probably happen and not them upsetting. But anyhow, notice how Missouri does have the 42 connection as well, in light of Mahomes already winning a Super Bowl with the 42 ritual representing Missouri. And so here's the other thing about 42 and the black quarterbacks. Again, Washington State's the 42nd state, Russell Wilson. The letters DC in Sumerian gematria are also 42 in light of the first being won by Doug Williams with the Redskins. DC, D's the fourth letter, C's the third, so that's 7. Sumerian gematria is just multiplying the alphabetic order times 6, so 7 times 6 is 42. And remember, DC is the land of the Freemasons and the Jesuits. Freemasons 42, Jesuits 42. Put up Georgetown again, it's also 42. But the Super Bowl in Arizona, the Slavery Bowl, and you see how slavery is also 30? 30. The NFC next Super Bowl win is 30. And the reason that I find that, when I've missed things, so often I've been a year ahead of myself. I thought last year, Super Bowl 56 to conclude the 102nd NFL season, I thought before the season began it would be the first Super Bowl with 2 black quarterbacks because it was the 102nd season. The year before, there were games on October 2nd, 10-2, and the feature game that day, I think it was the Ravens and the Texans, if I remember right. but the Ravens became 10-2 versus the Texans, if I'm remembering correctly. And you had two black quarterbacks. You had Lamar Jackson versus Deshaun Watson. The games on 10-2 of the year before the 102nd season, I thought it was foreshadowing what was to come, because you had so many 102 rituals between the games with all the black quarterbacks. So before the 102nd season, I said, I think based on what they did last year on 10-2, and they even made a big point about how that day on 10-2 was the most black quarterbacks ever facing each other in a single NFL week in NFL history. So it was the 102nd season, and it was Super Bowl 56, and we know they code that number all over the Black Lives Matter rituals. So I was blown away last year when they didn't have any black quarterback in the Super Bowl. I mean, I was just baffled. And when we did put that out, it was also before they moved the Super Bowl date, because we put out all that information when the Super Bowl was still scheduled for February 6th. They ended up moving the Super Bowl to February 13th, 213, and then LA wanted in the 213 area code. But now this year, a year later, you get it. And it kind of makes sense because it's Lincoln's birthday. And it's the first time the Super Bowl's been on Lincoln's birthday. And again, he's who freed the slaves. And the Damar Hamlin thing, again, Hamlin's 57. Hannibal Hamlin was Lincoln's vice president. So, and Hamlin has the 30 like slavery as well. And 105 like Arizona. But, yeah, Hannibal Hamlin was the vice president of Lincoln. So, obviously, there's something with that. And look at this, you guys. Just look at how sick the jokes are. Who is singing national anthem for Super Bowl 57? Look at this, you guys. Chris Stapleton, right? Chris Stapleton. So, why did they choose this guy? Chris Stapleton's birthday is April 15th. And he just happens to be 44 years old right now. What happened in history on April 15th? Oh, that's the day Lincoln died. And, if you've read my first book, I've talked about how every presidential assassination comes back to the number 44. And notice he just happens to be 44 years old. Again, shooting is 44, execution's 44, so is the name Abraham. Abraham 44. So, Lincoln's birthday, freed the slaves. Where's Chris Stapleton from? He's from Kentucky. Where's Abraham Lincoln from? Abraham Lincoln is from Kentucky, right? Abraham Lincoln. He's from LaRue County, Kentucky. It'll be his 214th birthday anniversary, the day of the Super Bowl. Okay, so here, let me go back to my Twitter. All right, make sure I don't take notes. I just do everything off the cuff. But let me make sure. Oh, by the way, shout out to Green Arrow, who caught that it was 103 years ago that American football brought in its first black players. Okay, so again, Kobe Bryant, number 24. Remember, here, for the person who's new here, Kobe Bryant in the most pure cipher is 41. Kobe in that same cipher, or not Kobe, Bryant in that same cipher is 26. Kobe died on the 26th day of the year. You notice how it's 37 in reverse. He died on the 37-year anniversary of Bear Bryant, the football coach. But Kobe died on the 26th at age 41, and while traveling from Catholic Mass on the Pope's 41st day of his age. But if you go back and look at the box score, you'll see that Mahomes' 26th completion was to number 26 to put the game away over the 49ers on his 41st pass. And that's the Super Bowl number. And year after year, I'm talking about the Super Bowl in 41. Mahomes just got his 41st career home win last night to advance to the Super Bowl. Notice how Super Bowl is also 131. That mini NFL movie that the NFL put out on January 13th. That day can also be written 13/1 like 131. Number we talk about with championships and Super Bowls year after year. Championship 131. We loved TCU to upset Michigan in the college playoff because both teams became 13-1. Nice big payout. Same pattern we follow year after year. And Super Bowl, again, is also 112 like Chiefs. And you see how Super Bowl is also 49? So is NFL, so is America, so is Scottish. The Chiefs played the 49ers 112 days before the Super Bowl and beat them 44-23, a total of 67 points, where Kansas City is 67. 67 is the 19th prime. Yesterday's game was on 19-date numerology, 19 points at the half. Burrow's got his 19th loss. Mahomes stayed on 19 career losses, and the Bengals got their 19th. What was it? There was one more 19. Maybe the Chiefs got their 19th playoff win. Maybe that's what it was. There were 3 19s that could play in favor of the Chiefs yesterday. Let me see. Yeah, the Chiefs also got their 19th playoff win yesterday in Kansas City. And by the way, just coming back to this most pure cipher, this is why I'm kicking myself. Philadelphia Eagles 87, Philadelphia 65. Len Dawson dead at 87, member of the Hall of Fame in 87, dead 65 days after his birthday, or his 66th day of his age, like I talked about. And Philadelphia, of course, does have the 223. It is 2023. And remember, in the Bible, there's the letter written to the synagogue of Satan about the Church of Philadelphia, which is also 223. And you see how World Series is 57? Before the season began, just like how we had 2 teams in the AFC for the Super Bowl, we had Bills or Chiefs before the season began. In the World Series for the National League, we had either Dodgers or Philadelphia. And for a very specific reason, it was the 118th World Series, and those are the 2 118 cities. But the Astros beat Philadelphia. Philadelphia also lost in the Major League Soccer Championship. The Warriors won the finals, who are originally from Philly. So there's all this Philly stuff going on. Gonna have to think about the 76ers, because NBA Finals is 57 as well. That's another number connected to championships. Notice when you write out 57, it equals 131, just like championship, just like Super Bowl. But the day that the Phillies lost in the World Series was November 5th, which you can say is the day leaving 56 days left in the year. But also, November 5th through the last day of the year are the last 57 days of the year. So, again, you had that 57, and the World Series is all about 50, always about 57. Always about 57. So, Philadelphia loses in the World Series. And again, it was the 118th World Series. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 118 in the most pure. Philadelphia, PA, how you'd write it on an envelope, 118 in the most simple. LA's the other strong city with a 118 connection. Los Angeles, California, in reverse is 118. Its date of establishment is September 4th, the day leaving 118 days left in the year. And it's on the 118th meridian. And the big mass shooting they just had with the Lunar New Year Festival was like 118 days. Or I'm getting there. LA's had so many shootings. One of the LA shootings was just 118 days from the mayor's birthday, the new mayor. So, anyhow, you learn this knowledge. You just see how rigged it all is, and just like I was ranting about, people continue to treat this stuff like it's real. It's nothing but rigged. It's based on human ritual sacrifice. Again, my trolls are literally the most pathetic people in the world because they've never called anything in their life. I have a mountain high of futures and predictions. And where I've missed, I've really annoyed myself a lot of the times because I'm like, how did I not see that? And again, I don't want to make excuses, but I was doing a lot when Len Dawson died. I was trying to rush out and get my book finished before I left for New York trip, which was just days after this. And I still haven't finished the damn book because I'm still not happy with it. But yeah, in hindsight, I mean, I had it all there. We didn't know to put in the future for the Chiefs because of that. But and I guess just thinking back, the Eagles, part of the reason probably it didn't dawn in my mind right away, Eagles, was because the Eagles last year looked like dog shit, and Jalen Hurts looked like he didn't belong in the NFL. And this year they're the talk of the town, and you know, it still fools the sports fans because but they look so dominant. Yeah, that's because every game is scripted. You know, tell one team's offensive line to play down. Tell one team's defensive line to play down. Play nonsensical coverages. Leave everybody wide open. I mean, did you guys watch the Vikings-Giants game? Saquon Barkley's the whole offense for the Giants. The Vikings didn't even guard him. Travis Kelce, supposedly the greatest tight end there ever was. Yet every game he's just wide open. And that's what I told you yesterday too. The Chiefs had the better riddle to win for yesterday's game. And I said the whole thing with Mahomes being hurt and Kelce supposedly being nearly out with the bad back's probably just bait for the gamblers. I mean, did anything look wrong with Travis Kelce? He looked like his typical slow, sluggish self who's just wide open all the time. And again, both Kelce brothers. Travis Kelce went to Cincinnati. The other Kelce brother, and by the way, he wears 87 like every other tight end in the league, right? Tight end 87, probably goes with the whole Len Dawson thing. You know, Philadelphia Eagles. But his brother plays for the Eagles. So you have Andy Reid. Oh, yeah, I forgot to make that point too. You have Andy Reid versus old team, the Eagles. And the Eagles went to the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 39, which was 18 Super Bowls ago. 18 Super Bowls ago. The Eagles also went to Super Bowl 52 in the 2018 season, but that was with Doug Peterson, who Andy Reid beat, who now coaches the Jaguars. So Andy Reid went with the Super Bowl with the Eagles 18 years ago when he coached them. The Eagles also went to the Super Bowl in 2018. And now look at the Chiefs Super Bowls. Super Bowl 1, Super Bowl 4, Super Bowl 54, which was 50 years after their last Super Bowl. Chiefs is 50 and so is San Francisco. Joe Montana's 54. He played for both teams. That was the Joe Montana Bowl where he wore 19 with the Chiefs and they won the 2019 season. But 1, 4, 54, 55, and now 57. Add those numbers together, adds up to 171, which is the 18th triangular number. And again, Andy Reid with the Eagles 18 years ago, Eagles also in 2018. And again, like I'm saying, it's the Jesuits. IHS is the Jesuit acronym for Jesus Hominum Salvator. 18 forwards and backwards. Their logo's the sun. Football's on Sundays. Sun 18. So, Sun's 54, Moon's 57. Mahomes is in both, who's kind of the new face of the NFL. And remember when ESPN's, what's it called? God, ESPN has this offshoot publication that they sponsor a lot. But the year that Mahomes won Super Bowl 54, the opening story before a single game was played was Mahomes shaking Lamar Jackson's hand, and the article said something about like the era of the black quarterbacks underway. And then the next year they had Mahomes, I think, shaking Deshaun Watson's hand in just like a similar type of story. That year Mahomes lost to Brady. But now with Mahomes, you get the first 2 black quarterbacks in a Super Bowl. People will scream, he's not black, he's mixed. I know, but in our culture, right, if you're mixed black, you're referred to as black. That's just like the cultural thing. So that's why within our culture, the word that starts with cult, you would say it's the first quarterback with 2 Super Bowls of African ancestry. All right, hold on. Let me go back and make sure I'm covering everything I need to cover in this. Okay, we talked about Len Dawson dying on Kobe Bryant Day, where he fit in with... And again, Kobe Bryant dead the week before Super Bowl 54. Again, it was the Joe Montana Bowl 54. 2 big stars in California. Kobe beating Bryant also 54. In reverse, 81. Like how he scored his career-high 81 points in his 666th game. Died 243 days after... Well, I can't think of the guy who's the... Jerry West. He died 243 days after Jerry West's 81st birthday. Died 135 days from Kanye West's birthday. He did the... He crashed by Kanye West and Kim Kardashian's house at the time. He did the short Nike film with Kanye that ends with the exploding helicopter. Bruce Willis is also in it. But Kobe beating Bryant, remember 135, like fly, Eagles, fly. He was a big part of the Eagles' Super Bowl ritual the year they beat the Patriots. And we called that Super Bowl with the Patriots and Eagles in Week 3. And It's amazing how trolls just came out. They're like, Zach took so many teams that year. It's like, no, we only had 2 teams the whole year. I said Patriots would be in the Super Bowl before the season began, and was looking for the NFC team, and I had it in week 3. Never went off it. And the TSA agent recently uploaded a video saying I took a bunch of teams that year. It's like, so I'm putting out more lies. Okay. Never only had those 2 teams that year. It was dead on. But anyway, remember, the Kia David equals 135. Do a lot of rituals with Philadelphia and 135. It's all biblical. Philadelphia, the letter to the Church of Philadelphia mentions the Kia David, like the synagogue of Satan. It's all synced up. It's all synced up. Carson Wentz with his rookie passing record, 135 passes without a pick. So, anyway, they just did a similar one with Josh Allen in the playoffs, 111 passes without a pick. He's playing for the New York team. You got to know your team's numbers, then you'll see through the rituals. But okay, Kobe, Len Dawson, Lincoln. Again, the Eagles' Super Bowls add up to 163. They're 16-3. Elected 163 years ago, the 38th prime, 38 points scored in the Super Bowl, or the conference championship. Gold equals 38. 49ers known for the gold rush. Hosted the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl on the 38th day of the year, which was won by the 38th state, Colorado, which also equals 38. The Kelce brothers both going to Cincinnati. Maybe I forgot to put up the other Kelce brother. Did I forget to do that? Yeah, I got Travis Kelce. His birthday is the day the World Series ended. Okay. But again, they both went to Cincinnati, and the Society of the Cincinnati. Check this out. That's what it's officially called. They have a funny in there. Society of the Cincinnati. Look it up. 246, like how the country's 246 years old. If you look it up, their symbol is the eagle. And again, the Super Bowl will be 90 days before the Society's birthday, which is the 13th day of the 5th month, kind of like 135, like Fly Eagles Fly 135. Philadelphia, by the way, established on a day with 135 numerology. And again, the day leaving 65 days left in the year, where Philadelphia is 65. But their symbol's the eagle. It's the Eagles' 90th season, and it's 90 days. The Super Bowl is 90 days before their anniversary. And the thing is, the Society of Cincinnati is 239 years old. 239 is the 52nd prime. The flag was sewn in Philadelphia at 239 Arch Street. The last Eagles Super Bowl was all about 239 and 52. So here's the things you got to think about. You got to weigh the scales and solve what the better riddle is. And again, on the underdog Chiefs side, let's go through it one more time. Kansas City Chiefs, 64. Andy Reid is 64 years old. They can win the Super Bowl and become 6-4 versus the Eagles. The Chiefs can. If that happens, Mahomes will become 11-3 in the playoffs for his career, beating the Eagles 1-3 when the NFL put out the mini movie on January 13th with Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts, predictive programming for the championship game. So that's the Chiefs' side of the coin. The Eagles' side of the coin is slavery. 30. 42. The number they always pay tribute to in the Super Bowls. Arizona also 42. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, it'll be the 30th win for the NFC, and the Chiefs would fall to 5-5 versus the Eagles. And I got to be honest, at this point, I don't know where the 55 really factors in with either team, but what I can tell you is that number has been fire through the whole playoffs, and it might be dead now that the 255 teams are out. It might have been something about the last 2 teams to get eliminated, because the 49ers are the 55 team in the league, and the Bengals were in their 55th season. And the Bengals' winning streak began November 6th, the day leaving 55 days left in the year, which is the 10th triangular and 10th Fibonacci number. And they won 10 straight games before getting eliminated by the Chiefs. So I thought when you click on this, again, 55 is the big old number connected to 10. And spaces. You might just want to sit back and relax today. Again, here's what we were looking at the beginning of the NFL playoff bracket. Let me pull it up for you. I gave 4 Super Bowl scenarios at the start of the playoffs. What I really should have done is just gone back and looked at how Len Dawson died 65 days after his 87th birthday, which I'm so annoyed with myself. But because that was a monstrous death. So here, let's get this up here. Okay, so before a single game was played, we looked at this and we said, all right, here's the 4 scenarios that make sense to me. And we've been talking about some of these scenarios for a while, including the Andy Reid Bowl. The Andy Reid Bowl was not sneaking up on us. We knew this was a very high possibility, especially since we thought either the Chiefs or Bills would be in the AFC, or representing the AFC in the Super Bowl. But when I first looked at this, I said, okay, you got an interesting thing going on with the 2 seeds and the 3 seeds on both conferences. If they did the 2-seed Niners versus the 3-seed Bengals, that would be a rematch of Super Bowl 23, and that was the 88 NFL season where 8 teams came in 8-8 to the final week of the season. And again, remember, Rodgers got his first ever tattoo of 2 lions, an astrology ritual, and then lost to the Lions on the last game of the season to make sure that neither team made it to the playoffs. And I was looking at that and I was like, that's weird to have such a big ritual with lion tattoos and losing both games to the Lions to miss the playoffs. And again, he fell to 18-8 versus the Lions all time by losing that game, getting the 8th loss versus them. And that story was published in pretty much all mainstream publications on the 188th day of the year about his tattoo, which was one day after he got it, or at least that he broke the news on social media, which was the 187th day of the year, and he came into the last game 18-7, a span of 187 days later. But I was looking at that and I said, well, here's something interesting. The Niners won their first ever playoff game over the Lions in 57. And again, Goff and Rodgers both played in the Bay Area next to San Francisco. So we were trying to figure out why they would do such a big ritual with Rodgers and the tattoo for it to seemingly not really connect with the Super Bowl at all. And again, Rodgers is Mr. 103. It's the 103rd NFL season. So we saw the potential rematch of the Super Bowl 23, which would also be a rematch of Super Bowl 16, which is 41 years later, the big Super Bowl number. And had they done that, it would have been 16 plus 23 plus 57 for those 3 teams meeting, which is 96, and Cincinnati equals 96, and the Queen died on the opening day of the season at age 96, and the Niners could have got to 6-2 in Super Bowls, and Burrow could have fallen to 6-2 in the big game where Queen equals 62. So in terms of numbers and what was going on, Queen, and just looking at everything, it made sense. Plus, had the Niners beaten the Bengals, they would have been 17-4 for the season. Cincinnati, I just said it equals 96. When you run it the other way, it equals 174. The Niners could have become 17-4 for the season, beating Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. They would have been 6-2 in Super Bowls. And they got Christian McCaffrey from Charlotte, the Queen City, who came over wearing the number 23. And McCaffrey did well for us with prop bets in the playoffs wearing that number 23. But again, you had a narrative there. And also the whole thing about 174, this year is 174 years after the gold rush began, which is what the 49ers are named after, from 1849. And then the other cool thing about gold rush is it has that gematria 41 and 1/12, just like Super Bowl. And gold equals 16. It's 41 years after Super Bowl 16, where Joe Montana, number 16, playing for the gold team, won their first Super Bowl over the Bengals. So there was a lot of rhyme and reason to that. So we said, let's circle that box and play that chip in case we have the Super Bowl 23 rematch. I said on the other side, not quite as interesting, but interesting, and it would go with what we've been saying about the Bills all year, the 2-seed Bills versus the 3-seed Vikings. The 2 teams that are 0-4, who were 9-6 against each other. Again, the Vikings wear purple like royalty. They were the first team to win in England this year. Josh Allen, born in 96, wins the first game of the season, representing Buffalo, which is also the Queen City, which was right next to Niagara Falls, lit up like purple. Remember the day that Prince died, who's from Minnesota? Prince died at age 57. They lit up Niagara Falls purple. Niagara Falls is right next to Buffalo, where their stadium is, Highmark Stadium. So we said, well, Prince's death at 57, these 2 teams that are 0-4 in Super Bowls, one of them could get their first win, NFL 14. Let's circle the box on that. Again, they were 9-6 against each other, like the Queen died at 96. And for the record, you had Damar Hamlin, whose full name is 96, Minnesota Vikings 96. Again, so that Super Bowl narrative had rhyme and reason. The Vikings were involved in two of the craziest games of the year. One a comeback against the Bills, another a comeback against the Colts on Saturnalia over Jeff Saturday. So we circled that box. Of course, we said that Andy Reid Bowl would make a ton of sense. We know Len Dawson's death was perfectly synced with the Super Bowl. Andy Reid coached both teams. I literally did not go back and I'm so mad at myself. I've been talking about Len Dawson's death over and over, and I didn't actually go back and look at my decode from the day Len Dawson died. 65 days after his 87th birthday. Those are the Philadelphia numbers. So anyway, we still had the scenario circled, but I would have had way more stock in that going back and revisiting the Len Dawson thing. And the other Super Bowl narrative that we'd been looking at, which I had some personal bias towards because it came from what I saw with my own eyes in Buffalo after the shooting since I went out there. Again, at the Buffalo Tops in the Memorial, only one NFL team had representation, and it felt like some kind of sick mockery because it was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady's team, who's tortured the Bills franchise in the time he's been in the NFL. He's 33-3 versus the Bills. And with all the dollar speculation, Bucks and Bills, but like I told people when the playoffs came around, I was like, I know we've been thinking that all year. That's why we got to cover these other scenarios, because Tom Brady looks like he sucks this year. The Bucks team looks totally wrong, and sure enough, they got knocked out first game of the playoffs. So, and like I said if you cover all four, we were already covered on Bucks Bills, not like we put that one in at the start of the playoffs. But those were the four Super Bowl scenarios we were riding with. In the conference championship round, like I told people, I said you might want to plug one more hole, discovering this Society of Cincinnati. And we pointed out how it could just be about the Kelce brothers who played at Cincinnati. But again, Cincinnati is the 51 team. Last week, Burrow became 5-1 in the playoffs. Remember, they just did the huge 51 ritual with Damar Hamlin, 51 years after Chuck Hughes, whose name also equaled 51. And the score of that game where Chuck Hughes died, who had the same birthday as Damar Hamlin, it was 28-23, 51 points. The losing team with Chuck Hughes, who died, scored 23 like this happened at the start of the year. So anyway, it is interesting that last week Burrow did become 5-1 in the playoffs with ref 51 on the field, who's working the Super Bowl. Again, you have Rihanna, whose birthday is February 20th, the 51st day of the year, and the Super Bowl is exactly 51 weeks after her birthday. So I was like, well, the Society of Cincinnati thing, her child being born on the same day. I said, I haven't been thinking Cincinnati Eagles, but their symbol is the eagle. I said, if you want to plug that hole too, you might want to cover that scenario in case you stand to lose a lot from your other futures. But again, it's just like the roulette wheel. There's a lot of spaces to cover, right? There's a lot of different scenarios. We covered the ones that made the most sense, and if you did what I said, you're now in position to win money. If you put a future down on the Chiefs at the beginning of the year, here, Super Bowl 57 preseason future odds. Again, the Chiefs didn't put, let me see. I want the, why isn't it coming up from before the season? All the local, didn't I write it in preseason? Let me try 2022. Google, here we go. This is the one we wanted. Okay, so the Chiefs did not pay a lot at the beginning of the year, right? They play, if you bet 100, you could potentially win $425. And that's not real exciting because, you can win that much money on rigged games in a day rather than not have to wait for that long. But we did have futures in for the Bills and Chiefs in the AFC, right? So let's say you put 100 down on both teams. Obviously, you lost your 100 for your Bills. Your 100 for the Chiefs is still alive, right? And if that hits, you're going to win $425. So your 100 will become $525 minus the 100 that you lost on the Bills. So you'd have $425, whereas before you had 200. So you'd more have doubled your money. And let's say you put down 100 at the beginning of the season on the Bucks too. Well, you lost 100 there, but you're still ahead. You've still won money. And again, that's the point of the game. It's just like investing. You make smart investments. The name of the game is to increase your wealth, which is what we do year after year with the knowledge. So at the beginning of the playoffs, we put chips on 4 scenarios. Only one of those scenarios has to come out with both teams to come out well ahead. And so again, even though this is not the best season, there are seasons where I've nailed both teams dead on before the season began. Didn't even have to put chips down on any other one because we were so confident about the riddle. 50, 53, 55, Super Bowl 52, both teams right in week 3. Again, we've done it a lot of years, but even in not our best years, still with the knowledge, we're coming out ahead. And again, for people who say, well, why is it, if it's all rigged, how come you can't call it? Again, the reason I'm showing you the end of the video is the kind of stuff you have to look at and think about. And, if you don't have enough IQ points to grasp what I'm saying, again, that's your problem. Low intellect. You can't understand the challenge of going like, well, that is interesting if they had the 2 seed versus 3 seed, Bills and Vikings in light of what they did with Prince dying on the Queen's birthday, who died at the start of this season. Again, he died at 57, so that's why that was a box to check. Again, if you put 100 down on those 4 boxes, it paid a lot more than 4-1 to get Chiefs versus Eagles, even though they're the top 2 seeds. And you know what else I got to say about that? The top 2 seeds. You don't see this a lot in the NFL. You don't see the 1 seed play the 1 seed a lot. I see what they did, though, with the first all-black Super Bowl. I see what they did. And the most pure cipher, black is 11. 1 seed versus 1 seed. Both of those teams were 14-3. Again, Scottish Rite is 57, Super Bowl 57. Scottish Rite of Freemasonry is 143. Both of those teams 14-3. So, anyhow. Shout out to Nick. Nick said 6 months into this knowledge, have hit 2 nice parlays. Thanks for what you do, Zach. You're welcome, Nick. Appreciate the tip. And Amy says Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles 3-2-2. Super Bowl is on the day, leaving 322 days left in the year. Super Bowl LVII 183. Abe Lincoln 183. Assassination equals 43. Football 43. Civil War 43. That was another point I wanted to make. Okay, I'm glad. Hold on. That means somebody else gave a super chat. Who else gave a super chat? Shout out to Truth Vibration Podcast, who shouldn't be giving me any super chats. Truth Vibration Podcast, I don't mean to tell you what to do, but seriously, don't ever give me another super chat. You got to take care of yourself right now. And like I said, man, if you ever need anything, you reach out to me. I got lots of taco money for you, but you just call me. You got my number. He does say enter Abe Lincoln in the calculator, though. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Abe Lincoln 42. And 87 like slavery, and 57 like Super Bowl 57, and 183 with what Amy was just pointing out. Yeah. 87. Len Dawson dead at 87. Hall of Famer in 87. 87, the year a first black quarterback won the Super Bowl. Okay. Abe Lincoln, who freed the slaves. Get the jokes? Martin, 87-42. Remember what they just did to Selma right before the MLK holiday? The tornado that tore apart the predominantly black town. He had the 87-kilometer march there in Selma. And then what they just did in Memphis, where MLK was killed right before the MLK holiday. I knew there was something up with that running back for the Eagles. He went to Memphis. But again, the beating on January 7th, the supposed beating that just happened to be in the one neighborhood camera. But Tyree Nichols, that was 87 days before the anniversary of the MLK assassination. Okay, but this is the other thing that needs to be said. Abraham Lincoln, the Civil War president. The Queen. They did so much with the Queen this year, seemingly for in the Super Bowl, it to have nothing to do with the Super Bowl. But all year they've been doing rituals with the Queen. So, I mean, following the Queen stuff's been very helpful, but it did not matter when it came down to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl came down to the history of American slavery. Where is the connection with the Queen's death, Abraham Lincoln, and American slavery? I already know where it is, but I just want you to think about it in your own mind. Let's do a 10-second countdown in our heads, and then I'll tell you what they've done. Okay. You ready? King Charles. Remember, on King Charles' 74th birthday, we got the Moscow, Idaho killings. Moscow 74-like killing. And we got the Virginia Cavaliers killings. And again, Cavaliers are people who fought for King Charles in the English Civil War. So the Queen dying gave us King Charles. King Charles is connected to the English Civil War. Now, we got the Super Bowl on the American Civil War president's birthday. And notice, England's 57-30, right? 57-30. The Queen only went to one American football game, again, way back in 1957. She watched Maryland upset North Carolina, which is named after King Charles. She died on the Virgin Mary's birthday. But in the same cipher where England is 30, so is slavery. So, between now and the Super Bowl, I will be, again, trying to figure out what narrative makes more sense. And I'll give it to you one more time. Does the NFC win the 30th Super Bowl? If they did do that, the AFC would stay on 27 Super Bowl wins in the 103rd season, where 103 is the 27th prime. And do the Eagles and Chiefs become tied at 5 games apiece facing each other just because 55 has been smashing throughout these whole playoffs? But again, now the 255 teams were eliminated in the conference championship, so I don't know. Got to think about it. If Mahomes wins, again, he's 11-3 in the playoffs for his career, beating the Eagles. The NFL put out the NFL mini-movie on January 13th with Mahomes and Jalen Hurts' faces on it, which was clearly telling us what the Super Bowl was. And keep in mind, 113 is the 30th prime as well. And again, if the Chiefs do win, I've been documenting 64 Chiefs rituals nonstop. When the Chiefs beat the Niners in Super Bowl 54, it was synced up with Joe Montana's 64th birthday. Again, when Mahomes beat Len Dawson's passing record, it was all about 64. Andy Reid's 64 right now, and the Chiefs can become 6-4 versus the Eagles. So that is the question. That is the question right now at this moment. But yeah, it's just like, and the other thing that annoys me about people in this community is it's like, I told people to be careful yesterday with the NFL games. And meanwhile, I gave out a sheet of winners for the NBA yesterday. You had the Hornets, who are a 6.5-point underdog, who looked great to win. And I said, if you want to play it safe, you can take them with the points. They were a nice big payout if you took them to win. Big winner. The Pacers looked like they had a chance to upset, but I wasn't sure the Grizzlies' losing streak was going to go past 5. Remember the whole Nichols 5 thing? And they didn't. They ended their losing streak, and they won with 112 points. Grizzlies 112. Mathematics 112. The Cavs looked prompt to stomp the Clippers, which they did. They blew them out by 23. And the Bucks didn't pay anything, but they had the riddle to win all day. So, I mean, you could have parlayed the Hornets with the Cavs and the Bucks, which all looked rock solid. And that's a nice big payout. I didn't hear anybody yesterday thank me for the NBA picks, and we do well in the NBA day after day. But I had all sorts of crying to me about the outcomes of the games last night. And I'm thinking, like, did any of these idiots who are crying to me listen to what I said yesterday? I said I'm not happy about this week's games. It's tough to call. Again, if you already have the scenarios in, like I told you to put them in at the beginning of the playoffs, Andy Reid Bowl, Super Bowl 23 rematch, probably just want to sit back and chill today because that's probably where it's going. If you want to plug the hole with the potential Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, you can do that. But yeah, it's just like people don't listen well. They don't do what I say to do, and then when things go wrong, they cry to me about what happened. Meanwhile, day after day, I'm giving out winning knowledge, smart advice, how to play the games. And again, it's just, if you lose, what a loser would do is blame the person who's been giving them the good advice. And I get tired of listening to morons too, like, you can't call anything with Gematria. It's like, okay, 111th World Series, 112th World Series, 113th World Series, 114th World Series, 115th World Series, 116th World Series, 117th World Series, 118th World Series. All big futures winners, And it all started with the 111th World Series. That means big winner, 8 for 8 with the World Series futures. Seen anybody else do that? I don't know anybody else who's done that. Super Bowls. Both teams nailed in Super Bowl 50 at the start of the season. 52, 53, 55. Other years where we didn't nail at the beginning of the season, we've still done relatively well. The best season we ever had was Super Bowl 55 because I also hit every single playoff game that year. You know anybody who's ever called every single playoff game? And that was also the year that there was the most playoff games ever, but it was helpful to us that year because they moved it to 7 teams from each conference, and we knew Brady was on his way to his 7th ring. And a certain moron in the community guaranteed the Chiefs would win that Super Bowl, which was like the dumbest thing ever. And that person still hasn't ever called a future, but now their channel's about trying to take away my history and taking credit for my work. Anyway, that's basketball or baseball and football. And not to mention in some of those, like helped a gentleman win over $300,000 by parlaying the Boston Red Sox beating the Dodgers in Game 5, synced up with the Patriots beating the Rams in the Super Bowl. I mean, we called how perfectly all that was connected in July. In July, why the Red Sox would beat the Dodgers in Game 5, 4-1, and why Chris Sale, number 41, would be a big part of that game, which he was, and why Brady would win the Super Bowl at age 41, 99 days later to close out the 99th NFL season when New England equals 99, and that was Super Bowl 53, and Patriots and Los Angeles and Red Sox all equal 53. You know? Actually, it's Boston Red Sox equals 53. Boston Red Sox 53, Patriots 53, Los Angeles 53. Again, you've never seen anybody in the history of the world do anything like this before I got here because nobody knew how scripted it was. Nobody knew the knowledge that was being used to script the games, and nobody saw how all the sports and news was connected. You have now people writing on my coattails, doing exactly what I taught them, using my name for clout, like they're better at this when they're not. You know, a moron who just said I could never call European football. He totally missed the World Cup winner. First crack at ever putting in a World Cup future. Nailed it. Argentina over France. I did have a hedge with England too, but Argentina over France made the most sense. In tribute to Pope Francis, exactly what they did. Again, a lot of clout chaser losers out here who can't give the props where it's due. NBA. The first ever NBA future I ever put in was not a popular pick when I put it in. And I also showed why it was going to be the same matchup 3 years in a row. And where I finally missed the NBA future was when it happened a 4th year in a row. I did not think it was going to happen a 4th year in a row. But again, before any of the Warriors-Cavs finals ever happened, I said why. And I showed. You know, I still remember exactly what I showed. Back then, I only knew two ciphers. But the Warriors and Cavs played, and LeBron had his career high of 42 points. Hold on. LeBron James, 42. LeBron has career high of 42. Again, his father, Nate Thurmond, played for the Warriors and the Cavs and had the number 42, retired with both. But he had his career high of 42, 98 days before the start of the NBA Finals, and that's the National Basketball Association number. Of course, they also love the National Basketball Association with the 113. But it was 98 days, and I said, there's your finals. I said, it's about LeBron and Nate Thurmond and 42. And people are like, nah, it's a Bulls year, Derrick Rose's year, Warriors team's not that good. Anyway, that was the finals, and 98 days later, the game went to overtime, 98-98, to secure the exact point I'd made and based on what my prediction was. Go back and look at Game 1 NBA Finals, Warriors and Cavs, the first time they met, you'll see it went to overtime, 98-98. And then I explained why, the next year, Game 7 was on the real King James's birthday, and LeBron would get his revenge. To be fair, that first finals, I was torn on who would win it. But then when LeBron lost and they put out the schedule for the next year, I said, look at that. LeBron will get it this year. LeBron will get revenge this year. It'll be tied, 1-1. And then I think it was the next year that the finals Game 4 was scheduled for June 8th. And notice how sweep is 68, and so is basketball. I think that was the third time they met, that the Warriors swept them on June 8th. We saw that coming too. And then the next year, the fourth year, the reason I thought they'd meet 3 times is because they were calling LeBron the Godfather. And how many parts of the Godfather are there? Yeah, they kept calling him the Godfather back then. LeBron the Godfather. I was like, this will be a 3-part finals. It'll be the trilogy. Well, they surprised me, and they went for the 4th straight time. And what I thought it was going to be that year, instead of LeBron versus Curry again, I thought James Harden. I thought it was going to be the battle of the Jameses. I thought it was going to be LeBron versus Harden. But, yeah, so what? Nailed 3 straight NBA Finals from the start of the season. And the year that Curry lost to the Raptors, we did correct our future, but that was the 73rd pro basketball season, but the 72nd NBA season, and I did not realize that the NBA was separating things like that. So Toronto won the 72nd NBA season. Curry's born on the 73rd day of the year. So Curry lost in that finals to Toronto, where his father played and where he met his wife. And again, it was won in Game 6 with Drake on the court side, who calls Toronto the Six. And, the TSA agent who likes to grope ladies, the only thing that he ever brought to this community, the only right call he ever made in sports, and it was helpful that year, and I gave him his props, but then he turned into a total goon. But he saw after Game 3, he noticed that the Drake Scorpion album came out the same day that Kawhi Leonard went to the Raptors, and he pointed that out, and I said, you know what, I think this guy's right. I said, I think Toronto is going to win this thing. And that Game 6 makes a lot of sense. So, again, that's the closest that guy ever came to a future. Getting it right after Game 3. But this year he had the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. How about that? Anyway, again, it's rigged year after year. And let's not forget, won a ton of people a ton of money with, the Lakers, because I had people put in that Lakers future before they got Anthony Davis. The Lakers paid a ton before they signed Anthony Davis. And I told people, I said, put your future in as early as possible, because I knew they were going to go out and acquire players. They had to. LeBron didn't have enough. But the day LeBron went, again, the day he went from Ohio, the 17th state, to LA on the first day of the 7th month, I said that day, LeBron will win the Lakers their 17th championship in his 17th season. This is a no-brainer. The NBA loves 17 too much. Look what they just did with the last final. Look what they do every day with this number in the NBA. It's crazy if you pay attention. But, and that's just pro sports, And then we've nailed all kinds of futures. We've nailed tennis futures, things I'm forgetting, World Cup, college. Destroyed college. You ever seen anybody call the winning team, exact team win with 71 points? I did that. Here, March Madness. 71. Gonzaga, 71. Gonzaga Bulldogs, 71. Catholics, 71. North Carolina beat Gonzaga with 71 points. Exactly what I called before the game was ever played in the entire tournament. And for people who are new here, you should see what we do year after year in the tournament with nice upsets. Teams that are 10, 12, 13-point dogs, but they got all the numbers for the upset. And again, those kind of games pay out more than a Kansas City Chiefs future that you have to wait on for a whole football season. So, anyway. I get tired of just listening to the morons and the critics. It's like, the reason these people criticize what I do is because they are morons. They don't have enough IQ to appreciate it. They sit there and they hate. I click on Allie's video last night. The video has one comment just to see what she's talking about. By the way, if you're out there, Allie, you got to stop. I always promote Allie, but then when I see her doing videos like last night, I'm like, oh my God, you're promoting like the guy who makes Gematria look the dumbest of the dumbest. But anyway, I clicked on her video to see what it was about, and it had one comment in there, and it was talking shit about me in sports picks. Just like, okay. In her video on a different topic, anybody who would ever say anything bad about my work and what I've proven is nothing short of a moron. Period. Again, it's not an exaggeration. It's 1,000,000% fact. Nobody has ever done anywhere near close to what I've done in proving how sports are rigged, calling futures, and helping people win at sports gambling. Period. Hold on. Let me see what this call is real quick. It might be something else. Hello? Hello? Yeah, who's this? Yeah, okay. Shout out to Jay Campbell. Jay's from Cincinnati, and he's real mad about the game last night. He's a Bengals fan. He knows it's rigged, but he thinks it's the most rigged game in the history of the NFL. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they all look really stupid. Yeah, you could say the Chiefs won the game last night because of all the calls they got. I mean, it was like, what, third and a mile, and they call some phantom pass interference? That's the NFL, though. I mean, that's just week after week. I can't say that last night's game was the most rigged game ever. It seemed like a lot of NFL games I've seen. You remember the Super Bowl where the Seahawks lost to the Steelers? Like, take away a touchdown here, give a touchdown there, bogus call here, bogus call there. Every single bogus call is in favor of the Steelers. I think that Super Bowl was in Detroit where Chris Cornell from Seattle also died in a weird way. 15, oh yeah, they got to do 15 head-scratching plays for number 15. It's stupid, man. But yeah, I don't know what's wrong with NFL fans. It's just the league is... And again, Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble. Brock Lesnar... The Royal Rumble was the day before the conference championships. Brock Lesnar goes out at the very beginning, super early in the Royal Rumble. And then the next day, Brock Purdy, who the WWE cut a promo for, goes out very early. And I was cheering for the Super Bowl 23 rematch yesterday because it was the best possible payout for what we had left on the board. And, you know, people who don't have intelligence or comprehension, you know, they took that as that definitively meant that was what the matchup was going to be. It's like, I don't know how people come to these conclusions. I said, I'm cheering for that, but it doesn't mean it's going to be that. Again, if you put in the scenarios like I did at the beginning of the playoffs, just chill for the conference championship was my advice. So, yeah. Okay. I think I hit all the points that needed to be hit and more. Let me put my eyes on the chat. Illegal Smile loves his NASCAR. If you guys want to find Illegal Smile on freetofindtruth.com or the Mighty Networks app on GematriaEffectNews, he would love you to help him decode NASCAR. So, appreciate it, Illegal Smile. And hold on. Shout out to Jeremy White. Jeremy White's one of the real ones. He's been riding with me since Super Bowl 50. He won some nice payday on Super Bowl 50, the Huey P. Newton Bowl. He's pointing out for Chris Stapleton, the singer in the national anthem. Chris equals 57. Stapleton equals 32 and 49, like Eagles, like America, like Scottish. Stapleton also 121 and 49, like Revelation, which goes with Philadelphia. Chris Stapleton also 62 and 82 like Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's some good decoding. And again, Lincoln's birthday, and his birthday is the day Lincoln was assassinated, and he just happens to be 44. That's the 105th day of the year. Arizona's also 105. And that means that the Super Bowl is 62 days after his birthday. That is a big number with Patrick Mahomes, just like how the ref last night that threw all the flags for Kansas City was number 62. Ref in charge of the game, 62. So Patrick Mahomes, 62-82. He said Chris Stapleton, 62-82. Yeah, and how perfect that he's going to perform 62 days before his birthday. Chris Stapleton's also 17-9. That's like Mahomes' birthday, the 17th day of the 9th month. Oh, by the way, the owner in Kansas City is 57 years old. And you know what? They usually end up syncing this stuff up with the governors and the mayors. Let's take a look at that real quick. Missouri governor. The Missouri governor is... the Missouri governor is the 57th governor of Missouri. How about that? He's 67 years old, like Kansas City equals 67. Oh, he has the same birthday as Patrick Mahomes, September 17th. That's awesome. Same birthday as Mahomes. And another thing we talked about is how the Super Bowl's on the 149th day of Mahomes' age. That's the 35th prime. The winning score of the first ever Super Bowl is 35 points. The football's the shape of the I. I equals 35. And if you use septenary and Chaldean gematria, both Super Bowl and football equal 35. So Mahomes has a real nice Super Bowl alignment, as does the 57th governor of Missouri. And is it Wolf? No, Josh Shapiro, 48th governor. Not quite as interesting. Oh yeah, one other thing. 2 years in a row. Last year the Super Bowl was on 213, right? You had Joseph Lee Burrow in it, 213. And I can't remember Jalen Hurts' middle name right now. Jalen Hurts' girlfriend's last name is Burrows. Isn't that weird? Jalen Alexander Hurts, 212, like the date of the Super Bowl. So the Super Bowl will be 26 days after the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro. Oh, what do you know? He went to Jesuit Georgetown. Go figure. Let's see who the mayor of Philadelphia is. Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney. 43, like the Super Bowl on the 43rd day of the year. Oops. Let me close some windows. When I got this many windows open, I get distracted. Can't figure out what to click on next. Jim Kenney, 64 years old. Interesting. Oh, born on 8/7. He has the same. You know what's funny? Kyler Murray's born on August 7th. Jalen Hurts is born on August 7th. Kyler Murray's the Cardinals quarterback where the Super Bowl is. But he has the same birthday as Jalen Hurts. This stuff is so weird. '99th mayor of Philly. Okay. Again, August 7th birthday. He was born in 58. Jalen Hurts born August 7th, 98. Born 40 years later. Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. He's 38 years old. Born August 19th. 55th Mayor of Kansas City. There's that magic number in these playoffs. Check something out here. The Super Bowl is 177 days after his birthday. The Jesuit Order 177. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, National Fixed League. No doubt about it. The main script is the one that's delivered. A part of me wonders, though, if they are putting out multiple scenarios in case they need to go another way. But yeah, the Len Dawson death was directly synced with the Super Bowl. And again, dead at 87, 65 days after his birthday, on Kobe Bryant Day, who's from Philly, who was connected to Mahomes' other Super Bowl win. Philadelphia Eagles 87, Philadelphia 65. I want to go back and look at the boy in the box story, because that was from 57 in Philadelphia 65 years ago. They're saying he was born on January 13th. That's the same day that the NFL put out the mini movie, 113. Okay. What date were these headlines breaking? December 8th. December 8th. Is there anything before December 8th? Some on 12/9, kind of like how the conference championship was 129. On Pearl Harbor Day, they were about to identify, and then I guess December 8th was the day they solved it. Okay, so that is the day, leaving 23 days left in the year, which means it was 66 days before the Super Bowl, or a span of 67 days. Again, this happened the same year that Len Dawson was drafted. I'm checking out the boy's name. August. His name is August, like the month that Jalen Hurts was born in. Oh my God. The boy's name is 87. Like Philadelphia Eagles. Oh my God. You know the other thing that really bothered me about the Eagles this year? I've never seen ESPN do it before. And I guess that maybe the reason they did it is because, like, we've been calling it out. We've been right until this year. After NFL Week 3 happened, here, let me go back. After the Week 3 games, NFL Live, the ESPN show that's on daily, they spent the whole week, every single day, telling everybody to bet on the Eagles in the Super Bowl because they were going for sure. It was a done deal. They were acting like the Eagles had already won the Super Bowl. Seen ESPN sell anybody on a correct future ever. God, look at the score of the game, too. Now I get it, man. I'm an idiot. 24-8. Kobe Bryant's jersey numbers. And they did it against who? The Washington team. The first ever team with a black quarterback to win the Super Bowl. Again, the team that won the Super Bowl in '87. The year Len Dawson became a Hall of Famer. God, it is annoying. Look at Jalen Hurts' net passing yards. It's Kobe Bryant's birthday in reverse 23. Carson Wentz was in that game, who was the starting quarterback the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. This is why they did that. That was the ritual, man. It's just, I had a lot of people in my community saying, because people just pick up on the media. I mean, I had a lot of people coming at me that week saying, man, I think the Eagles are the Super Bowl team. And I said, well, are you saying that because ESPN's telling you that the Eagles are the Super Bowl team? Because they did all week. All week. I mean, if you could go back and get all the NFL live broadcasts from that week, they were literally acting that week like the Eagles won the Super Bowl. They did become 3-0 too. Slavery 30. I mean, they do have a chance to win the NFC their 30th Super Bowl. So this is why you got to go back and revisit all the clues. But I am so annoyed with myself right now. You know what's funny? Like, had I not driven across the nation and gone to New York and been all in a rush and had a million things on my mind at the time when Len Dawson died, I bet I would have realized it then. And the sad thing is, like, people should care more about going out and getting people organized. But had I just, like, focused and collected what the right Super Bowl was with that narrative, it would have brought way more people into this work. People care way more about sports and winning money than anything else. So that makes me sour thinking about it that way. But I should have been able to see it anyway. That I know 87 and 65 are Eagles numbers. I talk about it every year. I don't look at everything about the Eagles season. First preseason game versus the Jets. Then the Browns, who haven't won nothing since Jim Brown. Then the Dolphins. They went 2-2 in the preseason. Their last game was against the Lions. Oh, no. Oh, shit. That was the first game of the season. Remember the Aaron Rodgers Lion thing? The two Lions. How his whole season was... So maybe... Obviously that was what it had a lot to do with. Who the Eagles' first win of the season was against. The Lions on 9/11. 38-35. Then they beat the Vikings. Then they beat Carson Wentz in the Kobe Bryant ritual. That was 33 days after Kobe's birthday. Who probably did live to see it. Kobe's 33. Then they beat Doug Peterson, who coached the Eagles when they won on 10-2. Again, that's the slavery thing. Then they beat the Cardinals. Five 5-0 after that game. Hold on. That game was in the Super Bowl stadium on 10-9. That's the day leaving 83 days left in the year. Football's 83, the 23rd prime Super Bowl in... Here, let me just make sure we got the right measurement here. It should be 126 days later, if I'm not mistaken. Which is Kobe dead on 126. Yeah, 126 days later. 18 weeks. Remember what I was just saying? If you add up all the Chiefs Super Bowls, 1, 4, 54, 55, 59, 57, it adds up to 171, which is the 18th triangular number. Andy Reid took the Eagles to the Super Bowl 18 years ago. Eagles won it in 18. IHS and Son, 18. So 18 weeks. 126 days. 37 points scored in that game. The date numerology of that game, 10 plus 9 plus 22, 41. 41 date numerology, the Super Bowl number. Nick Sirianni, the coach of the Eagles, is 41, and when they beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52, they scored 41 points. Again, that year had a lot to do with 239, the flag thrown at 239 Arch Street. Trump elected 239 years after the flag's birthday with the same flag birthday, who took on the NFL on 23/9. Again, the Eagles are synced up with the Society of the Cincinnati, where both Kelce brothers went there, and that society is 239 years old right now, the 52nd prime. One other thing I'll throw out there, giving you guys a lot of freebies to think about in this one, but I still haven't made my decision. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, NFC's the home team. Home teams will be 5-2 in the playoffs. Home teams are 4-2 right now. Then they became 6-0 versus the Cowboys with 43 points. Dallas Cowboys 43, football 43. Then 7-0 over the Steelers. Remember, Len Dawson connected to the Chiefs and the Steelers. That game was on the day leaving 62 days left in the year. Now they face Mr. 62 Mahomes. Eagles and Texans, they became 8-0. This game where they lost their first game to the Commanders, it was a huge 47 ritual on King Charles's birthday. DC's the 47 city. Commanders picked up a nice 47. But I remember I wasn't real confident the Commanders would upset the Eagles. We saw that possibility. The thing that was the trick in that game is the Eagles could have become 9-0 in that game, and it's their 90th season. So that was a Monday night game on King Charles's birthday, who's connected to the English Civil War. And now we got the Civil War president birthday, Super Bowl. There were 53 points in that game. All right, let's think about that. Let's really think about that game. 47 days left in the year. That whole game ended up being about 47. The first Super Bowl was in the 47th season of the NFL. The Chiefs lost in it to the Packers, another green team. But Super Bowl 57 is the 53rd Super Bowl of the modern era. Pennsylvania equals 53. Joe Biden, his birthday is the day leaving 41 days left in the year. Anytime presidents are in office, they always have championships in pro sports synced up with him. Joe Biden's from Pennsylvania, I'm sure. This Super Bowl is on his 85th day of his age, National Football League 85. It's also 84 days after his birthday, like Jesuit and Sunday. But like United States of America, like Abraham Lincoln. I might have to go back and revisit. Maybe my, again, I've been thinking that Joe Biden will be replaced by Kamala when she turns 59. Kamala was born in 63. 64, so she'll turn 59 October 20th of this year. Maybe Joe Biden doesn't live to see the next Super Bowl. I mean, you got to think about this. It's a big tribute to, again, you got a guy singing the national anthem who's Lincoln's death date. It's synced up with Biden, who's from Pennsylvania. You know, I was thinking Biden would leave once he turns 81. I guess he will turn 81 before the next Super Bowl. He might not make it. This whole Lincoln thing. But yeah, 53 points in that game. The first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl played for that team. That game was 90 days before the Super Bowl in the Eagles' 90th season that they became 8-1. Kobe Bean Bryant, 81. Hold on, let me see where Doug Williams fits in with all this. Doug Williams is 67 years old right now, like Kansas City. Born on August 9th, the day leaving 144 days left in the year. He's 67 right now. When the Chiefs won 3 years ago, he was 64, and Kansas City Chiefs is 64. Now he's 67, and Kansas City is 67. August 9th. That's the day of the Michael Brown shooting. Wow. From his birthday to the Super Bowl is 187 days. Washington, D.C., 187. Okay. So many things to think about. Eagles over the Colts. They became 9-1 in that game. That game was on Biden's birthday. They became 9-1 on Biden's birthday. Oh, that's funny. They came in 8-1 on Biden's birthday, right? President Biden, 81, from Scranton along Interstate 81, who supposedly got 81 million votes. And what I've been saying, I don't think he'll live, I think he'll leave office at age 81. He turns 81 November 20th of this year. So that is before the next Super Bowl. I was thinking he was going to leave office around June 1st, 2024, which could still be right. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that makes sense, but I'm just wondering about this whole Lincoln thing. And also just the Moscow, Idaho, 1122 King Street, news on the King's birthday, JFK, 1122, and then the killers found in Joe Biden's hometown of Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's like, okay, what are they doing here? Okay, but they became 9-1 on Biden's birthday, coming in 8-1. Then they beat the Packers, who won the first Super Bowl 10-1, 73 points like Packers is 73. Then they went into Philadelphia. Philadelphia does equal 101, just like how they became 10-1 the year they won the Super Bowl. And let's not forget they beat the Vikings with the exact same score in the playoffs on the 5-year anniversary. Or excuse me, this year they beat the Giants on the 5-year anniversary of beating the Vikings with the same score the year they won the Super Bowl. 38-7 in both games. Minnesota and Giants both equal 38. 45 total points like Ritual. Okay, 11-1 versus the Titans. 12-1 versus the Giants. 70 points in that game. Giants equals 70. 45 points over the Bears. Bears equals 45. So they became 13-1 against the Bears. Again, the NFL's from Chicago, Super Bowl 131. That game was 56 days before the Super Bowl, or a total span of 57 days. Then they lost to Dallas, as we expected. They fell to 7-1 away in that game. Dallas, Texas, 71. So they became 13-2. Presidential number. JFK killed in Dallas. That game was 50 days before the Super Bowl. Then we had the Saints to upset the Eagles in that game. They became 7-9. Pope Benedict's name equals 79, and they became 3-5 away in Benedict's 35. We had a nice little payout on that one. So they became 13-3 in that game. Football won 33, and then they won to get to 14-3 over the Giants. 38 points. Giants 38. And again, I mean, for the people like, yeah, but you're using multiple ciphers. It's like, yeah, why don't you pay attention to what we're also showing week after week? 70 points in this Giants game, 38 points in this Giants game. Then they beat the Giants with 38 points. Giants in 25, crushes all the time. They became 25-25 in the playoffs with 25-year-old Daniel Jones upsetting the Vikings this year. Yeah, but you're using multiple ciphers, though. It's just like, okay, retard. Back to the short bus. $15, and don't forget when you spell out 15 as a word, it equals 38. Like LeBron winning his 15th game of the year over Atlanta, the 15th city, on his 38th birthday. Then 16-3 over the Niners, the 38th prime over the Gold team. Paying a lot of tribute to 38, the death number. Biden from Pennsylvania. Let's double check something. Presidents to die in office. There's been 8 to date. The next will be the 9th. Biden is number 46, but he's the 45th person to be president, which is the 9th triangular number. All right, let's go over. JFK was the last one. All right, Zachary Taylor got sick on July 4th, eating fruit, and then died days later. He almost joined the list of remember, 3 of the first 5 presidents died on 7/4. Killing equals 74. Holiday 74. Independence Day 74. Zachary Taylor nearly died on 7/4 as well. Okay. So Taylor was first. And there is something about that, don't you think? I mean, who did the Chiefs just advance over to go to the Super Bowl? They beat Zach Taylor, the Bengals coach. Or hold on. I skipped William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison was the first president to die in office, and he died on 4/4. Again, every president's death, if you go back and check it all out, they all come back to the number 44, just like how the guy singing the national anthem is 44 years old. You know, here's another 44 for you, Joe Biden, who was the VP to number 44. But William Henry Harrison was the first person to die in office. That's right, 4/4/1841. An invitation-only funeral service was held on 4/7. You think anything's changed in this country? God, you guys want to know something funny? There's a movie with Denzel Washington called The Little Things. I haven't finished the movie. Sweet Lady just put it on last night. But right at the beginning of the movie, the guy's complaining because his, electronic light for your company. The guy's complaining to me, man. He's like, look, the G went out in my store sign, and there's 47 bulbs in there. That's expensive. I was like, oh my God, 47 bulbs in the G. Again, the Masonic compass is a G with the compass set at 47 degrees. And the movie's about police, Fraternal Order of Police, policeman and cop 47, like government and authority, like DC, like president, like White House, like Republican, like Democrat, like Joe Biden, the 47th VP to Obama, who took office at age 47, like Trump 47, like Biden being in D.C. for 47 years before he became president. Anyway, William Henry Harrison on 4/4. I got to go back and do everything on this, but I know there's like a 44 in all of their deaths. Zachary Taylor, 1850. That was 9 years later. He died 9 years later. He died on 7/9. After getting sick on 7/4. We know murder is 79 and death is 97. OJ's birthday. Abraham Lincoln, Abraham 44, got shot. Kayla said the type of gun he was shot with was a Philadelphia Derringer. I got to look that up. Gun that assassinated Lincoln. It was a 44 caliber. Of course it was. She said it was something like a Philadelphia Derringer. Let me type in the word Philadelphia and see if anything comes up. Is Derringer out of Philadelphia? I'm not a big gun buff. Anyhow, I'll have to check up with Kayla. She said there was some connection with Philly in that gun. And let's not forget it happened in 65, right? Philadelphia 65. The 65 city. Garfield equals 44. He was shot on 7/2. Hey, that's the day Kennedy met with the Pope in history. Jesuit Order 72. He died 11 weeks later on 19/9, like 199 the 46 prime, like Sacrifice 46. McKinley shot in Buffalo on 9/6, Freemason 96. Harding died of a heart attack in San Francisco on 8/2. Kill is 82. It's a date with 52 numerology like president. FDR died in the time of the war, and he died in Georgia, the 44 state. His funeral was on April 14th. I wonder why. On the anniversary of Lincoln getting shot. That's why, you guys, the whole time this nation has just been like making fun of us. Just like how everything's so connected if you just like look at the date. And it just annoys me in slave school how they'd always just teach us things like, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Meanwhile, your dumb teacher who learned that line doesn't know history, and they don't realize the way it's repeating and not recognizing the patterns. You know what else is funny, you guys? When I was in grad school getting my education degree so I could go back and teach, one of the people that was, well, actually, two of the people that were higher ups in the school really liked me a lot, but one of them was more interesting because he'd worked for Bobby Kennedy back in the day. He was an older man, and I gave a presentation on the death of MLK in his speech a year to the day of his assassination, and back then I didn't know Gematria, but I just showed what was in the speech and what the odds were that he would die exactly 1 year to the day later. And he was blown away because he didn't realize that. And he liked the way I delivered it and all the points I made. And years later, when I found Gematria, I still had his contact information. And I said, hey, I found something really interesting. And he remembered my MLK presentation. So I just showed him like what was behind the number 44 and the date 44. And I sent him like a nice email. And, just showed how it tied in with some other things in history, like how JFK was the 44th term president. The first president died on 4/4. And the way he responded, and this is a guy who totally respected me and liked me and wrote like a nice letter of recommendation for me in the past. But when I sent this email with this information, he wrote back to me that maybe I'd gone off the deep edge and maybe I was losing my mind. Words equal 44, and there's this history of killing in this number. But yeah, it's like you can't make sense of it. It's like, and in a way, I guess it's kind of like where humanity is. It's just like I was saying, you got guys who have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and all they essentially do is read the news and like put in like their little opinion, and the video has 50,000 likes. And you're like, why are people even watching this video? Can't you just read the news yourself? Wait, you need somebody to have a little opinion at the end for you? Then meanwhile, you show them the dopest information there ever was and call 1 million futures, and you're lucky if your video has 200 likes. Again, I know that's also because of the algorithm, and Google takes away the likes and comments and the views, but yeah, anyway, who's going to be the 9th president to die in office? Is there a ritual with why that could be with what's going on with this Super Bowl? Let me check something out from the day Biden took office to the day the Super Bowl is. A 107 weeks, huh? That's another shooting number. Getting this Abraham Lincoln thing going on. The thing is, I have trouble imagining that there's a lot of reasons that I thought it'd be around June 2024. It's closer to the election, too. Seems like some nice drama for an election year, but I don't know. They're definitely paying tribute to the Lincoln assassination with this Super Bowl. And the history of the Civil War and all the divisiveness. So, anyhow, I think we'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. We covered a lot plus a lot more. But if you guys don't know, Gematria Effect Sports is suspended. Yesterday in the Patreon live stream that only the people on Patreon could see, in the middle of the live stream, I didn't even find out until about I was talking to nobody for 20 minutes. Well, actually, I was talking to somebody on the phone for most of that time, and then the next call, I don't think he realized the stream had been cut off because he was on the phone with me. But hold on. So we're doing the football live stream, and we're talking about, you know, what could potentially happen. And then I find out that the live stream's been cut off. And what it showed on my end, I should have took a screenshot of the actual, like, here. You get a window like this. I got to switch the screen so you guys can see what I look at during the stream. So they call this the YouTube studio when you're streaming. So like this is what I'm looking at. And when somebody called me and said, hey, do you know your stream was turned off? I turned it on, and in this, it had a yellow line, and it said, your stream has been taken down for copyright. And I was like, how's that even possible? We're not playing anything. We're not listening to anything. We're taking phone calls, and I'm talking about the numbers for the game. How can the stream be taken down for copyright? So, if that wasn't bad enough, they took down the stream for copyright, and then, right on top of that, then they struck the video that I did the night before, and that's why I took down, if you guys notice, I took down 2 videos from this channel, GematriaEffectNews 25, because the same video that those videos were also on the Gematria Effect Sports channel, and they gave them strikes for hate speech, so I took them down off this channel so I didn't get strikes here as well. But there was no hate speech in those videos. It was about, again, the Memphis beating being on the same night that the Memphis Grizzlies played the Minnesota Timberwolves, and how the Grizzlies lost their 5th straight game as Nichols, like 5 cents, got beat by 5 cops, and the video is compared to George Floyd, which happened in Minneapolis where Memphis was playing that night. So they gave me a 2-week suspension over that video for hate speech, and it's obvious what it's really about, right? It's obvious how this politics really works. They ruined the live stream we had going yesterday, where we didn't quite get a finish. And who knows, maybe the last 20 minutes of that live stream get finished. Maybe we iron out the thoughts. Maybe somebody was going to call in and be like, Zach, don't forget Len Dawson. I mean, I was talking about Len Dawson's death, but somebody might have called in and said, hey, don't forget he died at 87, 65 days after his birthday. Those are the Eagles numbers. You just don't know because the stream got ruined. And why do you think they suspended me for 2 weeks, huh? This means I'll be able to post Monday after the Super Bowl. They don't want me putting out any information on my bigger sports channel where people go for the sports information between now and the Super Bowl. And that's why this whole censorship system is just a giant joke. It's nothing but, it's just all political. I mean, seriously? A false copyright, not to mention that happened to us in Oklahoma City, right? In Oklahoma City, we're doing all original material. We're interviewing people. We're talking to people on the street. We're talking to people who came out for the event. We're talking to cops. We're talking to city officials. We're 4 hours into the live stream. It's been an awesome live stream. Boom, YouTube just takes down the whole thing for copyright. Poof, it's all gone. You can't back it up. It's gone. And, I mean, what was the copyright? It was all original material. Yesterday, how did they take down my football stream over copyright as we're breaking down the scenarios? And I think Kayla was the last caller on the stream before they took it down. And again, Kayla was reinforcing why her favorite scenario was the Andy Reid Bowl. And shout out to Kayla because she was dead on about that. Don't doubt a woman's intuition. But yeah, I mean, this is total crap. And then I got morons trolling me all day. See, the morons think the work's dumb because they're morons. But the geniuses who run the whole show and control all the morons in this society, they know that I'm a real threat to what they're doing. And they worry that maybe someday the morons might even catch on. So that's why they continue to squash and delete the channel and keep it buried in the algorithm. They're worried the short bus riders might grow a few more intellect points. So, Yeah, the Chiefs are 2-2 in Super Bowls, and the Eagles lost 15, 39, and are 1-2 in Super Bowls. Chiefs are 2-2. They lost Super Bowl 1, won Super Bowl 4, won Super Bowl 54, lost Super Bowl 55. 2-2 for the Chiefs. And again, Eagles come in 1-2. So Sunday wins. That's an interesting stat. The last Super Bowl that he won was all about 2-2-2, but I've never seen any fruit from any of those Sunday-only stats. I think those stats might be a little bit too exotic. Again, the more important Andy Reid stat is that he can get his 269th win, the 57th prime, I would say. I'm not feeling sick. No, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. So, but yeah, I'll leave it there for now, True Seeker. If you want to join us, we will be on Patreon to talk about the Super Bowl a few times before the big game. We'll get everybody's thoughts out. There's always people from the community who are good at the research, who will catch on to even more than I'm looking at right now. But yeah, there's zero doubt. It's yet again, and like I'm teaching every year, when you know history, you can detect the riddle. You can detect the riddle early and often. Again, Eagles playing in Lincoln Financial Field, Super Bowl on Lincoln's birthday. The Super Bowls they've been in add up to 163. They're 16-3 going in. Lincoln elected 163 years ago. That's what they do. And again, it just goes to show the same people who control our history books, control our sports leagues, control our nightly news, control these big tech companies. And it's like they got humanity in a box, just playing with it day after day. People don't want to see that. So, yeah, pay attention to those State Farm State Farm commercials, no doubt about it. Could be a big clue with the State Farm commercial. Yeah, that is true. Rihanna's name is also 65. Indeed it is. Rihanna does have the 65 and the 38, like both teams come in 16-3, like the Super Bowl on the 43rd day of the year. I don't know if 124 would fit in with the Super Bowl, but yeah, it definitely fits in with the Philadelphia 65. What's up, 607?
Yo, I don't know if you caught that yesterday was 281 days from the 163-year anniversary of Lincoln being elected.
Okay, from March 4th?
No, from January 29th to...
Oh, the election, not the actual inauguration. Okay.
Yeah, he was elected on November 6th.
Okay.
And from yesterday to November 6th was 281 days, and 281 is the 60th prime.
Right.
And the lady from 24 died yesterday too, that you covered.
Right.
Like, the next election will be the 60th election in the year 2024, right?
Right. Yeah, I see that.
And the Kelce brothers are from Cleveland Heights.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I think they're foreshadowing that Trump will become president in 2024, and we might have a Civil War type outbreak.
Well, again, Bill Maher said that January 6th insurrection was the 93 World Trade Center bombing, and it's the precursor to the bigger event that'll be like the 9/11 for this country, and it could be like a civil war. So that's Bill Maher's take on January 6th, which was Biden-Trump. And again, real don't know, Trump had his 2016 convention in Cleveland right after the Cavs won the finals on the real King James's birthday, and King Charles is the son of King James. And again, Cavaliers are named after King Charles, but Cleveland was the only president to have a split term. And if Kamala becomes number 47, again, Cleveland equals 48. Whoops, I wrote Rihanna Cleveland. Cleveland equals 48, and so does Donald Trump. And so is Ron DeSantis if he was his vice president. But Again, there's a lot of parallels between Trump and Cleveland, and he could become the second president to have a split term, and he could potentially become number 48 in the 60th presidential election. And don't forget what happened to his wife on the 60th week of the Jesuit Ignatian year. Dead. So.
Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love.
Right.
We have the Kelce brothers.
Right. Yeah. And you got the first two black quarterbacks, right, and other brothers. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Chris Stapleton is doing the national anthem. Chris Stapleton's full name is 319, like Andy Reid's birthday is
March
319.
19th. Yeah.
And Chris Stapleton's birthday has 116 date numerology.
Okay.
And the first episode of 24 came out the anniversary of Lincoln being elected, 11/6. So there's a strong parallel. One more thing I have to say is that Jason Kelce, the Kelce brother on the Eagles, from the Super Bowl date to November 6th, the date that Lincoln was elected, from the Super Bowl to 11/6 is 267 days, and it'll be 267 days from Kelce's birthday.
Okay.
And the Kelce brothers from Cleveland Heights.
Okay.
So I'm definitely seeing what you're saying about Trump possibly becoming president in 24. I'm thinking this is foreshadowing that.
The Super Bowl is 122 days before Trump's birthday this year. He'll turn 77, but National Football League's 122. So is Kansas City. The next road win, the AFC's road, the next road win of the season for all NFL teams is 122. That's one other thing to think about with the Chiefs.
Yeah. And Andy Reid, he's on 268 wins. And from the Super Bowl till when Lincoln became elected is a span of 268 days. So there's a very strong parallel. Like, again, from the Super Bowl until Lincoln's elected, a span of 267 days, or 200.
267 is the Philadelphia area code. That's something that happened to the 49ers yesterday. The 49ers stayed on 267 road wins for a franchise history, and Philadelphia is the 267 area code. I normally don't doubt those things. So, hey,
all right, Zach.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I got. Oh,
yeah.
Memphis, Tennessee is 612 in Jewish. Minneapolis is the 612 area code.
Oh, yeah, another 612 ritual. Nice. Yeah, police equals 612 in Sumerian. All right, good one.
All right, peace.
See ya. Yeah, again, people in Philadelphia know your area code, 267, but I mean, that's how perfectly scripted all this stuff is. This kind of stuff happens all the time. 49ers all-time road win record, including playoffs. Look at this. 267. They stayed on 267 in Philadelphia, the 267 area code. And, you know, Shanahan got his 49th loss yesterday as the 49ers coach, but Eagles is also 49. So is NFL. So is Super Bowl. So, to set up the Super Bowl. All right, that's it for now, Truth Seeker. We'll leave it there. And, yeah, again, if you guys want to join the community on a desktop, go to freetofindtruth.com. That's the way to do it on a desktop. If you have a smartphone, go to your little app thing, download Mighty Networks app, like Mighty Mouse, Mighty Network app. Download that. Mighty Networks app. Download that. And once you download it, it's free. Just search GematriaEffectNews, and then just join that. And then from now on, when you open the Mighty Networks app, you'll just be in the Gematria And there's a lot of things you can do on here. If you want to plan an event in your community and try to get the Truth Seekers out, all sorts of things you can do on here. It's all free to use. It's like most other social media people are posting on here. If somebody's annoying you, you can block them. If you like somebody's post, you can follow them. Make sure you get notifications when they post. And I can live stream on here. I'm yet to use the feature. If I paid an extra $30,000 a year than what I'm already paying, which does sound like a lot, but again, if you had like 1 million people pledging $1 a month, an extra $30,000 wouldn't be that much. But the cool thing is, if you do pay an extra $30,000, for this. It sets up, you get all this, like, what is it? Storage space for the users, and then the users can also live stream on the platform. So it could also become like a censorship live streaming platform. But again, people are like, well, what do we need another one for? We got Rumble and all this other stuff. Yeah, it's true, but I just, it's like, I feel like our community are the real truth seekers. Like, we're the ones not ignoring knowledge. We're the ones who are using the code that is undeniable, while kind of everybody else, like on Rumble's like, oh, I'm waiting for Trump to come back. It's like, I think Fox News is the truth. It's like, okay. I mean, these people aren't really awake. These are the half-awake people. So, anyway, we'll leave it there for now, you guys. And until next time.